Hello, welcome to Floyd Models Kit Review Time, something I've been wanting to review for a long time. This is actually Zvezda's brand new 1/35th scale howitzer, or self-propelled howitzer. It's the MSTA-S series. Now, the reason I said I've been wanting to review this for a while is I have heard nothing but good things about Zvezda armour kits, but yeah, I've never ever built one. Okay, so got this one in purely to have a look at, but obviously I might end up building it as well if they are as good as we are led to believe. So as we can see, big old box. In fact, this is a huge box. Okay, nice little bit of artwork on the front, as you can see right the way through there. We've got some colour callouts down on the bottom. We can see some markings, obviously sort of universal markings for them down on there. And then running around the kit, so your kit number is 3630. Okay, just on the end there. I've got a few more other things that they've done as well. Okay, and then on the back, we've actually got some box work and some artwork of the completed model as well to give you an idea exactly what's going to be going on with it. So in the box, which I still believe is sealed, so we've got a very strong box. And when we say strong, we actually really mean it. So there we go. As you can see, we've got even more stuff on the inside there. Some polite people. Okay, bit of an in-joke. And inside we have an open top flip type box with the instructions and all the parts running around. A little bit odd that this guy isn't bagged up, but we've got the bags in there just like that. Okay, so what we do, we just pop these up out of the way, stick them down to one side, close this guy back up so you can see the kit. Okay, interesting style of box like that, to be honest. So in the instructions, as always, we have the one just down on here. So usual thing, as you might expect, so we've got obviously the parts callouts down in there for that one, a little bit about how to model. Okay, what we can expect down in the kit as well. So we've got some mesh, we've got a little bit of string, some clear parts as well, obviously decals down in there. Okay, and then working our way through the entire build. So as you might expect with armour, it's a lot about obviously stowage items. It hasn't got any internal details at all, it's purely for an external point of view of a static model. Working on the actual stowage bins on the top, working on the upper hull as well, and installing all of those stowage bins down onto there. And then obviously we've got some fuel tanks and various things down being fitted on there. Then onto the lower hull, so we've actually got the return wheels or the idler wheels on the top, the drive sprocket being fitted, and all the lumps and bumps and everything else you'd expect down on the underside. We've got the plate for the underside as well, which obviously you're going to bury itself in. To stop it sort of rolling backwards when it's firing, we assume. And then obviously we've got all the running gear down underneath there, so we've actually got the road wheels being fitted and obviously all the suspension system. Then onwards, mounting up the upper and lower hulls together. Track system looks like it is multi-part, so it's not individuals, it's just in sections. Okay, but we'll look about that one in a moment, which will save you a little bit of time putting it all together. Then we've actually got some of the systems going down on there, which is an interesting way of doing it. So it's got like a three-piece almost system. So you're going to have the actual drive sprockets. We've got those teeth that go in the middle of the tracks being fitted in there, just to make those a little bit easier to fit in. And then obviously road wheels and the various parts being put onto the outside of those in. So an interesting way of actually putting that one in together. I haven't actually seen that way of putting in the inner wheels then the outer so they lock into it, but it does save a little bit of work, so that way you can have the track fitted looking good and then fit it all in afterwards. Okay, then we've got a little bit of mesh work going to be going down over the top of the exhaust vents. Okay, and then obviously we've got various lighting, tow eyes, hooks, things like that. We've got the tow cable, the de-britching bar, or de-ditching bar even, and then obviously tools and various lumps, bumps, and as you might imagine going on there. And then we've actually got the periscopes and the actual machine guns being fitted to the top. Okay, and then it's going to be all about the gun system. So we're actually building the howitzer system down in there, being fitted on. As said, it is an external, so it's all just the external parts being put in right the way through. So we've got the mantle area and everything like those being fitted down in there. And then obviously we're working on the top turret part, so we've got the actual hatches, the gun as well being fitted down, placing it on the top, and then obviously we've got all the plating and all the little lumps, bumps, handles, as you might expect, smoke dischargers, things like that, being fitted to the outside of the turret. Then as we move over, we've got a, looks like an exhaust system down on here as well, being fitted down onto there, spare track, things like that, and then the gun itself being done and fitted right the way through, as you might expect, plenty of detail down on there, and that's all being fitted in. And then obviously we've got the Is that the actual loading chute being fitted down onto the rear as well of that, and then obviously being fitted in, so it hangs down the back as we can see. And then we've actually got the actual brace for the actual travel, for the actual main gun, and a few little bars and things being fitted to the outside. And there you have the actual gun system itself being fitted down on there. Again, it's one of those that sort of comes together really, really quickly at the end. Seems to get slow to start with, and then all of a sudden it's like bang, and it's there. So, looking around, we have, weirdly, a little bit of string down in there, clear mesh, which again, I haven't seen anything like that for a while. Okay, and then actually we've got the clear parts, which that's basically going to be flat and chunky because it's armour, so we're going to have no problem with those at all. All right, so straight off the bat, we've actually got the lower hull, as we can see, and again, really, actually, very nicely, solidly detailed. Nice, chunky moulding as you'd expect on armour, but it's very sharp, very crisp. Actually, very, very nicely done. It has actually quite a chunky quality feel to the plastic as well. So that's very nice. And again, working around the back, I've got the escape hatches underneath, things like that as well. So that's actually very nicely done. One piece moulded, good, strong construction. So in the bags, if we start with the bigger bags first, we'll look at the decals afterwards. Okay, so very large sprues, I have to say. Pop that over there. As you can see, we've got a big old sprue down on here. And again, the bolting detail feels quite sharp, quite crisp. Looking at all the details on it, no problem at all. It's a little bit chunky, and the sprue gates, the way that they join on. As I said, this is the first time I've looked at a Zvezda armour kit. They look quite organic the way they link on. It's not very sharp, but to be honest, they're quite nice. They don't encroach onto the part itself or anything else like that. And again, you've got some very small details down in here, like the actual de-ditching bar as well. Got a little bit of texture, but very, very fine amount. But again, the bolt heads, the screws, the details are all nice and crisp and sharp. No problem with any of these on here. If you catch it in the light, you can probably see. And as we work our way across, so we've actually got the top hatch as well for the actual top of the turret. Checkerboard on the top looks quite nice again. Some nice sharp crisp details. These side plates as well looking very nice, cleanly, crisply moulded on all of these. The top hatches. Actually, it all looks really nice. It just looks a little bit chunky, but when you're looking at these parts, it's what you would expect on armour. So I'm really quite happy with what I see. It doesn't look like the actual moulds are polished and everything to that high finish, but to be honest, you don't need it. This is armour. Okay, other sides for the actual turret itself, and then obviously we've got the side skirt you can see down in there. We've got some various bits, but generally I have to say very nicely at all. You can actually see the very fine machining marks in the plastic. Again, really nice. But all the ejector pins are recessed and out of the way, and to be honest, they're all in places you're not going to worry about anyway. And on things you might have open, such as the actual hatches down here, as you can see, we don't have any marks or anything or ejector pins on the inside of those, so you can quite happily have them open if you wanted to have the crew looking around or anything else like that on there. Okay, so top turret, 2 parts, 3 bits. That's just going to be the brace for the inside, one would think, so we'll just move that. But you can see this is the upper hull section. Very nice indeed. I'll probably do it this way, you can see. Clean, sharp, details, exactly what you want for armour. No problem with that at all. That actually looks really very, very nice indeed. And again, all the ejector pins, nice out of the way. Very good. No problem with that. That's actually quite nice. Okay, next up, we've got the sprue with some of the more finer points on these. If we just drop the camera down just a little bit, just on this one, there we go. You can see a little bit more detail on the overall, but probably if we have a little bit of a run around this sprue, starting at the top, you can see the actual sprue gates are very nicely moulded on. There's no real sign of flash or anything else like that. It's just generally really very nicely done. All of these parts, I can't see any problem, just down to little details, like a little bit of bullet on the actual feed down in there as well, so that's quite a nice touch. And you can probably see we haven't got any problems with these smaller parts. They're all beautifully done, right the way down to these guys, these little quite fiddly ones Very nice indeed. And to be honest with you, there's a little bit of burring, but it doesn't seem to be too much on the parts either, or nothing that you'd really get overly excited. So it does show it's very nice and cleanly molded. Very sharp details. Okay, so let's have a look down in here. What we've got down in here, some of that track work we were seeing earlier. So if we start with the side ones first. Okay, you see large sprue on here, so we've got various parts for the turrets, the exhaust system and feeds and various things going down on here, the gun barrels. Again, it looks like there's perhaps just a fine amount of machine marking in the tooling, but it's armour, so it's going to be buried. You're not going to worry about it at all. But things that really jump out to me up here, you can probably see the details down in these hatches and these areas. Very nicely done. You can see all these gun parts and the details, just these small ones just running around some of these areas. So although it might look quite organically molded the way it's done, the parts themselves are very, very sharp. But this detail is absolutely finite down in here. It's really very, very nice. This is a gun lock for the actual the barrel system itself. And again, open or closed, looks very, very nice indeed. And then some of these other parts running down. And you can see right the way down onto these. There's a lot of detail in this kit. This barrel does look a little bit lumpy bumpy, but again, it's what you'd expect. So it isn't a problem at all. And then over here we've got those exhausts and the various things and these side parts. And again, more hatches, wiring, various things. The blade, actually really nice. And again, there's a lot of detail in these parts. Lots and lots of detail, which is very nice indeed. And again, there's no sink marks, no ejector pins I think are going to foul anywhere, because anything that is a small part, like these little guys down in here, they don't have ejector pins on them. So very nicely thought out and designed. So yeah, I must admit, very impressed with all of that. Okay, so over down here we can see some of the track work and the way that they're doing it. So as you can see, we've got these running down in here, which obviously for the center, the guides, no problem with those at all. But generally looking at all of these small parts, again, very, very sharp, clean, crisp details on all of that. And then when you're up looking at the track itself, you can see the guides and the springs and all those areas. They're all looking very, very nice indeed. Down on the gun, no problem with any of that at all. And on some of these other areas, as you can see, it is very clean, sharp and crisp on all the parts, just down to, like, you know, the actual bracing and the retainer. It's got the hook on there, very nicely done on that can. Again, all of it is extremely nicely done. The parts, all the details, looking really very nice indeed. And again, no, well, it's just, there's nothing actually that you can really fault on the kit. It looks to be very nice, very cleanly done. Okay, next up we have there we go. Okay, it's a joint sprue, exactly the same both directions. So again, various other items down on here, and you can probably see on this one we've got the return, we've got the drive sprocket and the idler down on here. Again, the bolting details very nicely done, very clean, very crisp. We've got the muzzle brake just down on here. Obviously it's a two-piece, again, nice and sharp, all the details. But again, just the actual latches and, you know, the actual clasps and clamps and various things down on stowage items, very sharply molded, no problem at all. And the tracks themselves, very nice on this one. We've got no rubber blocks down on here or anything else. Okay, on the inside of the actual track system you have got some little ejector pins just in there, but to be honest that's an easy fix on those, because all you're going to do is just blast it with a sanding stick and you'll be good to go on that. But generally both sides very clean, crisp moulding. Okay, and then last up in the bag, lots of little bag going down on here. We're assuming we do have some matched various things. So we've got 4 the same. I think we do. Okay, so down in here we've got 4 sprues, which are going to be all the same down on here, but as you can see on these, actually very nicely done. So the road wheels, again, still not letting up in the details, very nicely done in all of those. So we've got the handles, the various little items you can see on this one. Again, really sharp, cleanly done in all of those. Yeah, you've got a few little ejector pins on the tracks, but really that's the only point, and now I'm really trying to be picky to find stuff, but because it's flat, it's a doddle to take care of. Okay, last up we've got the decals, and they look quite tasty, to be honest. Clean, sharp, probably see carrier film wise, very little in the way of height registration on those. Those look quite solid. Got the Russian Federation markings down in there as well, looking very nice and solid. So no problem with those whatsoever. Indeed, very nice. So there we go. That is my first ever review of Zvezda armor kit, and I have to say I am very impressed. Clean, sharp is something that's just jumping out right the way through that entire mold system on that one. The details are extremely well done. There's a little bit of a funny texture, to be honest, with the plastic. It looks quite organic, but it's armour. So at the end of the day, it's lending itself quite well to that sort of start point anyway. You don't want anything that's like sharp and crisp and flat, because that's probably not what it is. So in some ways, what actually could be seen as a negative if you were building an aircraft is a positive when it comes to armour. So from that point of view, we'll give it another bonus point there. There's a little tiny bit of burring, if you like, between some of the parts. Some of the road wheels can need a little bit of clean up, but to be honest, that's going to be straightforward because it's on a wheel, so you want to probably go around and sand them up and scuff them up anyway before you're going to paint them. And then the other areas, really ejector pin wise, there's none anywhere that's going to get in the way or foul anything apart from on the tracks. And again, a very easy, straightforward fix because it's a flat surface, and all you're going to do is just going to come along with a sanding stick and sand it, and you'll be good to go with no problems at all with that. So I have to say, there you can't see a fault with that particular kit. Interesting subjects, lovely done. The box, if you want to start being picky, I'm not a great fan of those types of boxes, but it'd be easy just to cut the lid off and use it for building your kit over a couple of weeks or however long it's going to take you without losing any parts. So from that point of view, again, it's not really a negative. So there we go, that is Zvezda's 1/35 scale self-propelled howitzer, the MSTA-S system, and it definitely gets my vote.